We're about to start a set of exercises called sentence combining. These will seem a little unusual to you, but they have a very powerful purpose. And one of the things behind this is that spoken English is different from written English. Another idea behind this is that you learn best by doing, and some of us learn best by, many of us, most of us, learn best how to write by actually writing and not by sitting and looking at some text. Spoken English is a very simple thing. Here we've got Ron and Hermione. You will recognize them as characters from Harry Potter. I wrote this little thing. Very simple little sentences. Nothing wrong grammatically with these, by the way. Ron and Hermione are in love. They plan on getting married. They have known each other for years. They met when they were 11 years old. They have been through many adventures together. Hermione often appears to be the brains of the couple. That's really boring. That's really repetitive. Sounds like it was written by a little child. And everything there is exactly equal. Yes, I know those sentences are safe, and so it's very difficult to foul up the grammar in them. But this is not the writing of a mature adult college student. Let's see if we can do better. Often when you try to do better, somebody says, well, let's put them together into longer sentences, and you get this. Ron and Hermione are in love. They plan on getting married. They have known each other for years. They met when they were 11 years old. They have been through many adventures together. Hermione often appears to be the brains of the couple. Well, what I've done here is to string together little sentences with commas. That didn't work. Here's why it didn't work. For one thing, it's still extremely boring. Nothing's really changed. Instead of having a lot of grammatically correct simple sentences, now I've got a string of comma splices, which are grammatical errors. And teachers and bosses hate this kind of writing. As a matter of fact, you hate this kind of writing. Do you want to read an entire novel written that way? I hope not. Well, let's fix it. We'll string it together with comma and. At least this fixes the grammar. Ron and Hermione are in love and they plan on getting married. They have known each other for years and they met when they were 11 years old. They have been through many adventures together and Hermione often appears to be the brains of the couple. Well, at least we fixed the fact that it was all grammar errors. Everything is strung together with comma plus and. This is what we call balanced sentences. A whole paragraph of nothing but balanced sentences, just as boring as a whole paragraph of simple sentences. And the writer has no way of telling us which part is more important than something else. It's like counting boxcars on a train as they go by. One is exactly like another. We'd really like something better. What we need is a strategy here for learning subordination and grammar structure and sentence variety. And that's what this whole sentence combining thing is all about. Now, if you're not too used to subordinate clauses, if you're not too used to the way writing actually goes, you might produce sort of a train wreck. Here are two sentences that I lifted out of genuine student papers. These parts that in which make the automobiles are dumped into the ocean, for instance, tires. The unfit parenting of Rex and Rosemary on their children was a tragic experience that made them a better person in which who they are today. Our student writer just got all tangled up here. That in which who, oh dear. And as a sort of a bonus in the second one, parenting of Rex and Rosemary on their children, that's not quite English either. We need something to help you get into something a little bit more more fluent, more mature, more adult than that. A couple of basic truths here. One basic truth is that when you write something, we've got a picture of the guy with the pencil over there. When you write something, writing uses a different part of your brain than typing, uses a different part than speaking, certainly uses a different part than reading. Another basic truth, some of us are kinesthetic learners. We learn best by moving our muscles around. You could read the grammar handbook, and that will help a little bit, but not much. I make all those marks on your papers, and other teachers make those marks on your papers, but uh, often you don't know how to fix it. Most of us learn best how to do things by doing things. If I wanted to teach you how to make a cake, I would ask you to make a cake instead of just lecturing you about making cakes. Here's another one, and this is true of me as well as you. When I write a sentence, it's really, really hard to imagine the sentence being some other way. So I'm going to guide you into several different ways the sentence could go. And last true truth, just stringing short sentences together doesn't help your style very much. We're aiming at a more mature style here. So here's our strategy for these exercises. This is a hands-on exercise. You have to actually do the writing. You have to get out a pen or pencil and some paper. Just thinking about the answers doesn't help much. Really, doing it on the computer isn't too helpful either. It's much, much better to get out a pen or pencil and paper and actually write these. Now, I'm going to give you, over the next weeks, 4 different sets of sentences. Don't overthink them. You're not trying to correct the writer's facts. Do not go to Google to try and straighten things out. You're not trying to insert a lot of fancy words. And once again, we're trying to learn by actually moving our muscles around. This is a lot like learning a foreign language. The more you interact with good written English, the more it will sound normal. And those train wrecks, which I showed you a few slides back, sound more and more unusual the more you get into really good English. So here's what you're going to be looking at for doing the exercises. You'll see a set that look like this. Sentences 1, 2, and 3. Some of these sets have just one, or just two of the numbered sentences. A couple of them have as many as 5. Little simple sentences with numbers, and then sentences with letters down there. We're going to cram 1, 2, and 3 into A. We're going to cram 1, 2, and 3 into B. And we're going to cram 1, 2, and 3 into C. Here's what it looks like. Okay, approach, relatively new, writing instruction. Sentence A, there it is. Sentence combining is relatively new approach to writing instruction. There it is in B. Sentence combining, and it's the same stuff, slightly different phrasing to it. Sentence combining is an approach to writing instruction that is relatively new. Approach got in, relatively new got in, a writing instruction got in. And in C, all 3 of them came in again. Sentence combining, yes, there it is. Approach, yes. Writing instruction, yes. Relatively new, yes. And after these things, after we go through the exercise, I'll talk my way through what happened and why it happened. Well, once you've got this all written down on a sheet of paper, you open up the Blackboard exercise, which will look something like this. Blackboard thinks this is a test where you fill in multiple blanks. The blanks are exactly the same as the blanks you saw in the assignment. And now you see why it's a good idea to write these things down. You won't know exactly what you did. So now you're going to fill in the box in A, the box in E, or B, and the 3 boxes in C. And it will look like this. Don't worry, by the way, if your words don't seem to fit in the box. That, for instance, on A, there's a bunch of stuff that didn't make it, but it will scroll horizontally, so you can get it all in. A relatively new approach to. It all fits. And once again, now you see why writing the whole thing out is a good idea. And after you finish these things, the Blackboard test will display to you the correct answers, and you can compare yours with what I wrote down. I set this up as a test, but you can do it over again. Don't worry too much about those point values. If you gave it a good try, you'll get full credit in my grade book. And then after all this is done, a slideshow will open up that will give a discussion of the correct answers and some other materials after you finish the exercise. I didn't want you to just copy the stuff from the slideshow, and that's why it's going to wait. Okay, well that's about it. Now it's time for you to look at the first exercise, get out a pencil and paper, and write about Maxwell Bratt, the teacher's pet.